Hello, dear friends. Here we are. One more day on the Medium's Harvest with Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. We got a book, Seara dos Médiuns. Now it's translated fully into English, believe it or not, thanks to the efforts of the Spiritist Society of Virginia and the Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Society. And here we have chapter 56. Yeah, we are a group. And if you're entering this live today for the first time or listening to this for the first time on demand, remember this study is for those who are willing to understand mediumship in the light of Spiritism, to be mediums, to form mediumistic groups, or at least to understand mediumship with the framework of Spiritism, which is different. It's completely different. As Emmanuel says in the preface of the book, Paul and Stephen, he is quite strong in his preface saying that most people on the earth prefer materialistic pleasures, prefer idleness, laziness, in spite of the fact that they are religious people, especially Christian and Christian Spiritists. He says majority of people are like this, in spite of all the teachings. So these teachings are not for the lazy and are not for the idle ones, are the ones who want to roll the sleeves and work. And we don't say this to judge. We don't say this to undermine anybody, but we're saying this because Emmanuel is explaining to us that mediumship is not for a few. Kardec, publishing in 1861 the Medium's book, brought mediumship to the world. It's no longer for a few, for the gifted ones. We're all mediums, he says. We need to know of this inherent ability we have inside of us and educate it. Educating mediumship means taming the impulses that are inferior inside of us and adding noble objectives, goals, through which mediumship is going to become the vessel of illumination in our lives and in the lives of people connected to us. And nowadays, especially through the advent of social media, we're more responsible regarding what we do than we were decades ago, at least a decade ago. Now what we do impacts much more on people, because we are immediately connecting to people through social media, not only locally, but globally. So we need to be extremely diligent regarding the choices we have in our daily lives. Today, talking about this, Emmanuel in chapter 56 is going to talk about our weak side. Do we have a weak side? I don't know. Let's see. But he relies upon item 226 of the Medium's book, paragraph 10. And this is part of chapter 20 regarding the moral influence of the medium. Do we play certain influence morally? Oh yeah. How so? Well, the chapter is extend, but we need to understand at least this paragraph 10, which is a question that Kardec asked the spirits, and they kindly answered, bringing to us new light, shedding new light onto this questioning. So the question Kardec had, if the spirits, if the mediums are attuned solely to good spirits, why do these spirits allow them to be deceived? Okay? Good spirits allow the best mediums to be deceived sometimes, so that they can exercise their judgment and learn to discern truth from falsehood. Besides, no matter how good mediums may be, they are never so perfect that they do not have a weak side that can expose them to being attacked. Such should serve them as a lesson. The erroneous communications they receive from time to time are warnings for them to avoid deeming themselves infallible and becoming proud. Because mediums who receive the most noteworthy communications cannot be any more proud of themselves than an organ grinder who only has to turn the crank in order to produce beautiful tunes. Da da da, da 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 da. Believe it or not, we all have a weak side. The best mediums may be attacked. Think about this. But let's not think about this thinking of others. Let's think about this ourselves. We make mistakes. Big deal. That's the first answer. Only humility in us allows us to say, instead of like, oh my gosh, what should I do? And there's a cartoon that Virginia watches. The girl says, I'm totally freaking out. And then the cat calls her and says, breathe in and out. And she says, yeah, you're right, cat. I need to count from 5 to calm me down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is us. Don't freak out. I'm not going to freak out either. It happens. We make mistakes. But that's where the Christ consciousness comes in place. We may make mistakes. We may make mistakes in all areas of our life. The problem is not to make a mistake. The problem is not learning how to manage the aftermath. Is to feel guilty and defeated, and that's pride. Because humility is going to allow us to bounce back quickly and say, yes, that's a lesson learned. I'm no longer going to go there. But no shaming, no self-shaming, no guilt, no remorse, as Emmanuel says in the book Thought and Life. Allow me to bring to you Thought and Life. There is a chapter titled Guilt. Vital, inevitably. To succeed in a reincarnation, we need to learn about guilt. Page 85. Page 85. And he says, it's important. We develop feelings of guilt whenever we avoid fulfilling our duty. But when we make an earnest mistake, like Paul, so, though it was criminal, but he did it not out of true evil, in the sense he didn't mean to be bad. He thought he was in the right direction. He thought deeply he was being faithful to his religious mindset, thinking, no, anything that is not following this is wrong, needs to be persecuted, is not purity, ba-ba-bee-ba-ba-ba. When he found out he detoured big time, what did he do? Did he spend time telling himself, I'm such a bad person, I'm never ever gonna talk to anybody? No. Emmanuel says we project devastating energies through guilt and depression. He didn't do this. We often harbor a silent anger that projects our sorrow against ourselves. Self-punishment. Paul of Tarsus, Paul, did not spend time on those mechanisms. Why? Because he made a mistake out of self-confusion. When he found out, he rerouted. Exactly, Teresa Castro. He rerouted. Of course, he knew it wasn't going to be easy, but he took a responsibility. Only the inner adult can take responsibility. Remember when in transactional analysis we talk about parent, adult, and child? The child is subjected to the inner parent saying, "You're bad," and the child says, "Yes, I'm bad, I'm guilty." The adult needs to come and play and say, "Yes, I was wrong. I know, but now I have found. Now I have found. Amazing grace." It is an amazing grace when we find the rerouting. How sweet the sound that a wretch like me, da-da-dee, right? I once was lost, but now am found. Natural. It will happen a zillion times. What do? Reconnect, reroute, and go. Don't spend time. He says, guilt requires a readjustment with true humility in order to attain a quick settlement. Humility recalibrates ourselves. This act of humility preserves our vibratory balance, thereby avoiding a disturbing series of long repetitive work. Okay, so this is Emmanuel. What does Emmanuel now in the Medium's Harvest, chapter 56, the weak side, expands even more towards this vulnerability, this susceptibility we have inside of us. Let's listen to the educator who knows more than any of us right now. Chapter 56, the weak side. That was a public meeting on August 5th, 1960, based on this paragraph 10 of item 226, chapter 20, the influence of the moral influence of the medium. Emmanuel then writes to us, imprints in our conscience, rest assured, not just the mediums. Many times you have seen your best friends deceived in good faith. Many who believed themselves protected by money fell in misery by exalting their own greed. Others who were supposed to be inaccessible to temptation descended into the underground of vice, dragged by the weakness of feeling. Great intelligences, categorized by infallible ones, rolled in the mud, for they had risen on pedestals of pride. Individuals who you consider to be poems of sublime beauty were disfigured in haste, showing masks of agony by the abuse of pleasure. Preachers of social and domestic heroism ended up in suicide, slipping into vanity. Noble workers of progress stopped the machinery of their own action in the middle of the road, eroded by discouragement. No one in the world is invulnerable to error. All of us, incarnate and discarnate, in improvement on earth, are subject to illusion through the fragile points we present in the construction of our own values for the greater life. In various circumstances, we all deceive each other in matters of possession, in family problems, in matters of influence, in invitations of sex, in appeals to honors, or in matters that concern the preservation of our comfort. If you then find the companions in a falling position, help them get back to worthy work without wasting time in useless comments. If the nature of the fault seems so grave that you feel inclined to condemn them, enter your inner world and ask God to enlighten your soul. And through prayer, the divine blessing will make you realize where you also keep the sad breach of the weak side. Ouch! That's what we could say. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Why we're saying ouch? Because many of us on the earth, and maybe including ourselves, when we see people detouring, we're like, oh my God. But we forget we detour too. We've done it. We may still be doing. In 100 years from now, that's a test, huh? Think about 100 years from now. How many things we do today that we think it's so normal, so healthy, it's not a big deal. In 100 years, as humanity evolves, we're going to be ashamed about many things we do nowadays, or many things we don't do nowadays. Let's think about this. When we live a selfish life, only thinking about our needs, only thinking about our personal goals. There you go. There we have it. The first measure of things that we'll be ashamed of in much less than 100 years. Maybe in much, much less. Thinking only about our immediate needs, our family's needs, and forgetting about the general good. As if the general good doesn't really belong to the to-do list of our daily lives. How often in our daily to-do list we list the needs of others? The needs to reach out, and reaching out not necessarily words or actions. It begins on thoughts and feelings. Praying, emanating, visualizing the good for people. It all begins in the mind. Words and actions are going to be vain if they are not solidly rooted in our true vibrations, feelings and thoughts. Feelings and thoughts. So, Emmanuel says, if you're worried about mediums failing, he begins this message saying, not just mediums. Many people fail, so that's a good one. When people say, I don't believe in mediumship because there are mediums who are a failure. Oh, really? Okay, so tell me where you're not going to find anybody who fails. Everybody. And he says, your best friends may fail. He says, best friends, they may fail. He says, people who have money and thought they would have money forever and then they are in misery. They did some wrong step along the way. He talks about people who fall into temptations, addictions, vices. People who are truly intelligent and make huge mistakes because of their pride and vanity. He talks about people who are beautiful and then you see them falling in the traps of illusions, he says. Look at our dear Marilyn Monroe. Beautiful, but she failed. Her own words. She failed. There is an interview with her by Humberto de Campos. And it's at Kardec Radio. Interviewing Marilyn Monroe. Go there, type in, because we have more than 3,000 podcasts there available. And then preachers. Yeah. They fall into of social and domestic heroism. They end up in suicide. Because we're not invulnerable. We need to watch and pray. Stay with me, said Jesus at the garden prayer. Stay with me. Remain here with me. Watch and pray. And nobody watched or prayed. They slept. The closest disciples. How come? John was puzzled. And Jesus comes and explains. Noble workers of progress stopped the machinery of their own action in the middle of the road, discouraged. People who start beautiful projects and they say, it's too hard, they stop. Like, please don't stop beautiful works. You started a center, a group, go and think. This is my personal call. But people don't believe. But it's not on us. And today our dear friend Deborah Beldovics was here in DC. And very wisely, in a personal conversation, she was saying, Vanessa and Carol, Mark, Carlos and John and Virginia, I always recall Mother Teresa. Because Mother Teresa was never against anybody. When she was asked about, would you march against abortion? And she said, no. But if you call me to march pro-life, for life, I'll be there. I'm not going to march against anybody. And that's truly Christian. Because Jesus never marched against anybody. But he was encouraging, pro-life, everything good. So he didn't waste time. And Emmanuel says, in the book Thought in Life, do not waste time with evil. Focus on the good. Focus on the good. Always. Right, Weber Costa? Thank you so much. So here he says, no one in the world is invulnerable. I'm not, and I know it. And even if I know, I will make mistakes. And none of us on earth is invulnerable. Because we're learning. Who is a learning being? Raise your hands. Me. Everybody here, including there's somebody here, huh? Incarnated. Take a look. Ta-da! You're learning, Carol?
Yes.
Yay!
Absolutely.
Right?
Always.
So, not surprising we're vulnerable, right?
Not at all.
How do you feel about that we're not invulnerable?
I feel great because that means that there's room for growth and transformation and evolution.
Yeah.
And that's how we get closer to the Master. If we were perfect and invulnerable, we wouldn't need the Master. And I'm grateful to the Master who guides us.
Yeah, Master Jesus.
Master Jesus.
Everybody's saying, Ceissa, Karina, Nora, Brasil, Lívia, Carol.
Love, 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 love.
See? Yay! Love is in the air. Yeah. Everywhere I look around. Yes. You see? That's what Carol said. We're not sad because we make mistakes, we're vulnerable. We're happy because we're learning. Okay. Like Thomas Edison. Oh, stop this nonsense. You're getting nowhere. No, at least I know 600 plus times that don't work. So I'm closer to getting to the truth. Tonight, we're here at Kardec Radio thanks to that decision of Thomas Edison. His humility and his resiliency depended on his humility. And now we're here in this darkness outside, but available in the electricity, the bulb, the light bulb, bringing to us the opportunity of seeing one another. Right? I know he didn't create Facebook, but without the light, Facebook wouldn't exist. At least not for those who are spending their nights. Right? There is a Katapanu saying, wise words, Carol. Yes. Love pills of trust, Sunshine is saying. Yes, she's saying it's beautiful. So, you're not invulnerable? Me too. How do you feel about this? This is an important question. Because think, but we don't feel. How do we feel about the fact that we are... I'm asking myself, what do you feel? I feel insecure, Vanessa. Then I feel that I'm going to breathe in and out and say, God, my security is in you, not on me. I can do it through you. I can go to the right direction through you. So put your hand on your chest and feel it. I can learn new things through God. And I'm safe. It's safe to trust in God. Even when I don't know things, I know through God. Okay? I know through God. I know through God. Yes, Lívia, there is an account by Humberto de Campos on Thomas Edison, but there is one in Brother Jacob. Brother Jacob in the book Voltaire. We did the 21 Days of Spiritual Awakening. That is on YouTube and Facebook too. There is a chapter, I can get back to the chapter for you. When he sees Brother Jacob in the spiritual realm for 15 minutes, and there's a beautiful conversation, brief but beautiful conversation. He's doing fantastic. He's a missionary on the earth. But it's important to go back to that chapter. I don't recall the number of the chapter in the book Voltaire. I came back, but I'll get that information for you when we're done here, okay? Yeah, now you remember, right? Yes. Okay, so he says here, all of us, incarnates and discarnates, including Emmanuel. Okay, so people make mistakes, are subject to illusion. No, yes. And a good thermometer is when we get too passionate about it. You know, passionate to the point like Saul, like fanatic about an idea, to the point that we don't see people's needs, that we become desensitized about people's pain. That's an alarm inside of us. Okay, I'm going to repeat. If you want to know when you're, or when we're going off track, it's when we are desensitized. We're not caring about people's pain in our lives. It's when the husband or the wife, they are not truly being cared for by us. It's when the child, the relative, the friend, the colleague, the spiritist family is just put aside. I don't care how they feel. I just focus on the duty, fanatic about the work that is need to be done, and I displace the embracing of friends, of people in my life. That's an alarm inside of us. Chapter 14, Xavier is saying in the book Voltaire, talks about Thomas Edison in conversation with Brother Jacob. Thank you, Leah, always for helping us. So, illusions can be measured by that. When we are not paying attention to people's needs. I'll give you another example. When in the book 50 Years Later, the father of Celia, taken by his pride, thinking that she gave birth to a baby that was not from somebody she married because she wasn't married yet, he expelled mercilessly Celia from the family house. That lack of sensitivity, of caring for the daughter, through that, he was detouring from his mission of a father in their life. His pride. But Vanessa, remember, tradition, da-da-dee, da-da-da, but it's wrong. It was criminal. It was criminal. Yes, Celia found her pathway in her expiation, but the father made a mistake. So in those books, Emmanuel is going to show to us the weak side of each one of us, including the missionary spirits, like Saul of Tarsus. Do you have doubt that Saul reincarnated to work with Christ? Don't doubt, because in the book, Paul and Stephen says clearly, he detoured, and he was the reincarnation of High Spirit who was already committed to this new pathway of illumination on the earth. He detoured. He was not the only one, and he still isn't the only one. Because there are many people nowadays who even don't know Spiritism, we may still be detouring. Okay? He says, we all deceive each other, and then he says, in various manners, in terms of money, family issues, social influence, sex, honors, comfort. It's amazing. But in the last two paragraphs, he gives us the recipe to turn it all around. If I find, he says, somebody who failed, instead of talking bad about them, go help them out. But we don't. We don't help. With prayers, with good thoughts, or even going after. And if the nature of fault seems so grave that you feel inclined to condemn them, say a prayer and illuminate your soul. Because nobody is going to be doomed to hell. First, because hell doesn't exist. By definition, at the end of the Spirit's book, hell is simply that feeling of endless uncertainty. That's hell. And we may be living hell right now, depending if we're feeling that way. So, if we look at people who are failing and we think they're feeling big time to the point that we're alarmed, Emmanuel says, don't worry about them, worry about your soul. Because in God's eyes, there's always a way out. So you need to open and bring light to your eyes to seek the good in that bad scenario, because sooner or later people are going to readjust themselves. That's a sure thing. Sooner or later, our relatives, our friends, everyone we know, including the President of the United States, the President of Brazil, the President of any country in this world, or the President of our company, or the President of our Spiritist Center, they, sooner or later, like ourselves, we will get back to our conscience and readjust ourselves. So why be alarmed? He said, no, pray for yourself, because you should never be alarmed. Never, never. And Tanya Stewart is reminding us the good spirits do make mistakes. And that's what Emmanuel is saying exactly. And through prayer, the divine blessing will make you realize where you also keep the sad breach of the weak side. So, they say, focus on you. Don't worry about others in the same thing, like, oh my God, me. Oh my God, me, if I don't. Correct. So let's focus on our zone of control, ourselves. Others, it's in God's hands. Thank God. Everybody's in God's hands. But on us, we are in God's hands, cooperating with God to blossom the divine inside of us. Right? So focusing on us. Where do I need to focus upon? You know, like when you go to the gym or to the nutritionist, a good preventative doctor that tells you, this is weak, we need to get this stronger, these muscles, this diet, etc. as spirits. That's the homework today. Don't think about the lack. Think about what we need to get stronger. In what thing do we need to strengthen ourselves? Just one, not 10. Think about one. What is it that you would say, oh, this is a muscle in my soul that I need to work out every day to be stronger? Because that's my weakness. What is it? Don't think about chocolate, because chocolate is good. Antioxidant, especially if it's dark chocolate. It's not about the physical. It's not about food. It's about us, inside of us. Okay, friends? Yes? Saying hi, Deborah Tessarolo. How are you? Where are you coming from, Deborah? Tanya Stewart and Greg, big hug to you guys. Nina Dewey, how are you? Lívia Moraes, our friend, how are you? Lea Severo, we're missing you too. And Karina, how are you? Karina Lisi. And Sunshine, how was the meeting yesterday, Sunshine? Ana from Alabama, how are you? Tereza Catapano, how are you? Wanda Varela de Ruiz, how are you? First time here, right, Wanda? Felipe, Mamma Mia, Felipe, where are you? We're looking for you, Nora Brazil. How are you, Nora Brazil? Ceissa, beautiful Ceissa, how are you? Patrícia Guiri, our friend and team, Kardec Radio, Weber Costa, how are you? Narciso, the light man, John the Rosa, the eternal friend, Teresa Castro, Luciana Nicoliello, sister, what a joy. Joy to the world. Luciana is also here. Dun, 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 dun. It's good to have you here, Lu. Katia, beautiful Katia, how are you? Julija, beautiful Australia, bringing good vibes for us. Thank you, Julija. And I know Rihanna is here. I know Rihanna is here. And Christmas never goes away. You know, this is the weak side, but what Emmanuel means is the one to be worked upon. What is it? 24 hours to find that muscle in our souls that we need to caress, to exercise, to boost it up, give some vitamin, multivitamin, only with Christ. Right, Carol?
Right on.
Yes, and tomorrow, God willing, we'll be back. And talking about tomorrow, Emmanuel's going to talk about future. Yeah, this is Emmanuel, not me. Because only he knows about future. I know nothing about future, but it's going to be better. Always. He says, teaser, huh? Teaser. he talks about that thing. Practice. No, I'm not gonna spoil it. But just as a teaser, huh? Do not waste time with readings about the future. No. No. Why not? You wanna know why? You wanna know why we shouldn't go for spiritual readings or even giving them? I don't know. Come back. Because that's the topic of chapter 57 tomorrow. Right, Rihanna? And before we wrap up, the Spiritist Symposium, the 12th version, is going to happen in Washington, D.C. on April 21st this year. Why don't you come, huh? I know Sunshine is coming. I think you should come. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why. You want to help the world. You want to pray for the world. If you're a Spiritist, that's the day. Come to the capital of the United States, and I would say in daring ways. I may be making a mistake, but I'm going to say it out of love. It's the capital of the world nowadays. If you want to help the world, come. And April 21st may be the day you'll be joining forces to pray for the world, uniting forces with people throughout the United States and abroad, praying and discovering enlightening messages, enlightening answers for those long-standing questions. Speakers who have dedicated themselves to studying and practicing Spiritism throughout the United States are going to be there. And bring your children, because there is going to be a beautiful program for them and youth as well. Okay? Sunshine is booked, and no, we're not hoping we can meet at our center. We certainly will, Sunshine. Let's make arrangements, friends. So big hug to you, and until tomorrow, God willing, say bye to our dear Carol.
Bye, eternal friends.